Hello, I'm Disparu, and Lost Ark is finding out that with great players comes great problems, and they're physically incapable of handling it. That's not my words, that's what they've said today. Since launch, the European region has been basically unplayable. If you want to play in the day, good luck. You'll have server queues from 14 to 25,000 players. That equals somewhere in the region of a 4-hour to 9-hour queue, and sometimes the queue system itself doesn't work because there's so many people already in it, it just won't let you load up the game. It just says computer says no. Now, I can understand why this is an problem itself. It peaked at 1.3 early on, and even now we're getting up to around 1.07 million players. It's a lot of people, but about 30 to 40% of those aren't even playing in the game. If they're not in the queue to try and get into the servers themselves, they're just sprinting into a wall in the game because they know if we DC, we'll never be able to play again. So while the numbers are still very healthy, even if you take what I estimate it to be away, there's still got a lot of people playing this game, but how long do you think that people are going to continue with these problems? Because we're still in the novelty period, and that novelty period will start to wear off around the first and second month of the game. This is a life cycle we've seen with New World before, where it peaked really early on back in October, and then by December, the game had drastically decreased, and then now we're down to about 30,000 players, back from the 900,000 that we had just a few months ago. So, Lost Ark is massive at the moment, but a game is never too big to fail. And I understand that games on launch will have launch issues. Destiny 2 launches today, and I'm sure they're going to have server issues on the launch themselves as well. But they built their game to scale, and if they had a lot of players, they could eventually make it work. But Lost Ark can't. There is nothing they can do to fix these problems, and they've come out with an update to tell us that. They say, heroes of Arkesia, European queues. We know that players are still experiencing long queues in Europe, and the central region is at capacity, and unfortunately, there is no way to increase the number of players per world in Europe Central. Adding more servers is not possible based on the complexity of all the systems that need to work together. We have spun up European West, and we are appealing for new players or players not significantly progressed in Europe Central to switch. And that seems reasonable, doesn't it? Okay, you can't do that. You're going to have to go over here and restart again. Fine. But if you've got 20 or 30 hours into the game and they want you just to switch just so you can play it, how are they going to compensate you for that? Well, you get your login rewards, your daily login rewards, you get that, that's all fine, that's great. I mean, they are minute rewards, but you get them all the same. Do you get anything for the hours, though? Is there any server transfers? Did they make you level 50? No. Everything exists within the game to fulfill this, but they're not going to do it because they say, we can't. I'm sorry? First stop, the option is server transfer functionality. We definitely hear the request of server transfers. This instant functionality does not currently exist in Lost Ark. The service just rolled out in Korea, and it's a manual batch process that runs weekly. It does not support cross-region functionality, so, under their own words, they couldn't add more servers, so they created a different region, but it's physically impossible for them to swap anyone over into that region. And it's not just like, oh, well, it exists in Korea and we can port it over later. No, it's physically impossible for them to do that. It doesn't exactly seem like the best strategic planning for a game for me, especially if you want something to be successful. Make it so that you can expand it, so you can add servers. Think about scaling in the future. And no, they didn't just not think of that. They made the game so it's physically incapable for them to ever do it. There is one suggestion that I've always supported, and I know a lot of people in the community have suggested as well. There does exist, within Lost Ark itself, a power pass functionality, something that makes you level 50 immediately and gives you some starter level 50 gear. Great! That way, any progress they made in the game, just going through the boring quest line, that'll all be over there, they'll be sorted, and everyone can get back to normal. You could solve this instantly. And yet, they say, we've also heard the ask for Power Pass grants to help folks transfer to new regions. That's an incredibly difficult sentence to read. But, unfortunately, this is not something that can work as a solution. Why? A Power Pass can only be implemented on a roster that already has a level 50 character. Yes, that's right. The thing which actually would make people level 50, which is what they're asking for, can only be implemented on a roster that has a level 50 character in there. And to that, I just go, okay, change it. You're the developers. Change it. Okay, you may not be the developers in this case, you are the publishers. Go to the people in Korea and tell them to implement that functionality. I know gamers get in trouble for this a lot, but seriously, how difficult can it be? This shouldn't be something complicated, and maybe you should have thought of that in the first place. It's not the player's fault that you can't do that. If the thing already exists in the game, and the only thing you have to do is to trick the game to go, okay, a level 50 character actually already exists, then do it, bodge it, patch it, stick it together with glue and plaster. I don't care how you do it, just get it done. But this will not work on a character on a roster, even if you already have previously done so on another region or server. And it's just bewildering to me that you could make something like that, and when people, your players, come up with a solution that you as the developers should have already done, you go, it can't be done. No, not going to do that. Why? Can't be done. It's not an excuse, that's not a reason, and it's not something that players should accept. However, you will still be able to earn your 2 free power passes on the Europe West region after getting your first character to level 50. And this isn't a bonus, because this is just a standard function of how the game works on any server at all. And honestly, I don't think you could possibly have handled this situation worse. Players on a new game will generally understanding of queues, especially on MMOs. We've all been there before. We've all queued, done the dance, ran into a wall so we don't get DC'd. That is normal. But there is a point where people go, okay, you've had enough time, what are you doing about it? And normally they add service. Normally they try and do something. An Amazon solution is to do nothing. And then they'll send out a message and go, oh yeah, we're doing everything we can. Okay, what can you do? We can't do anything. It's unacceptable that you actually think that that is a reason, and that is a thing that people should put up with. I don't care how many players you have, because if you want this to actually continue where you still have a decent number of players in your game, then you have to do something. Because otherwise, you'll end up like this in 2 months. And that's where I think Lost Ark is going. Because I'm about level 46, and I am only that level because I play at weird hours, and so I often don't have the queue system. But there are times, like as I'm making this video, where I could play, except I couldn't get into the game. And I'm expected to put up with that, knowing full well, after they've admitted it, that they are doing absolutely nothing to solve that problem. Their only solution is for me to delete everything that I've already done in the game and go somewhere else. And quite frankly, rather than do that, I'd just leave. Because I know that this game is pay to win. Okay, it's PvE, so it may not be that big a deal. People will be faster than you, they'll do more damage than you because they've opened their wallets more than you have. But I know that, and that's already a downside, and you expect me to put up with that, and then also put up with all of this. 9-hour queue times. Hey, and if you miss the 9-hour queue pop, you'll just DC for inactivity again when you're on the menu screen. So it's a really, really fun experience for everyone involved. And this, from the game, which is one of the biggest games, one of the biggest launches that I've seen. The second highest population game of all time on Steam, something that actually would have solidified Amazon as a massive name in gaming. They had 2 huge successes. They had New World and then Lost Ark, and it could have really put their name on the block as a massive developer. And they've destroyed both of them, ruined both of them, lost both chances because they will not do what is necessary to make their game succeed in the long term. They just refuse. They go, we're not going to add you a power pass. Why? Well, it doesn't work if you don't have a level 50. Okay, make it work. No. I think Lost Ark is a fun little game. The spells are awesome. They look great. The character design of everything is awesome. But with stuff like this, it really, really stretches credulity and doesn't make me want to play. And it's not like they don't actually have competition. Destiny 2 Witch Queen launches today. There was Dying Light 2 early in the month. There's Elden Ring out in a few days. You've got all of these games in competition, and you come out with a message like this and go, yeah, I mean, we kind of want to do something, but we can't, and we're not going to. I don't find it acceptable myself, but what are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe, more videos like this in the future. But for now, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.